This is Tranisha Control. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I am so grateful to have you here on this journey of self discovery and empowerment with me. In today's video, we're going to talk about the struggle. And yes, there is another video titled The Struggle in a past video, but this is going to be a little different. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So get comfortable because we're about to get started. So I'm trying to think of how real I'm going to be today because I'm trying not to be too real, but I also know that being transparent in your religious walk, being transparent when you're struggling, when you're going through things in life is the best thing that you could do for believers and non-believers. Because, sometimes we feel like we have to have this picture perfect persona that we display to other people, making it seem as if we have everything together, like nothing ever goes wrong in our life, like we gave our life to Christ and all of a sudden we don't have trials or tribulations or storms or things that tempt us. Like all of a sudden, oh, temptation is not a real thing anymore because we're saved or because we gave our life to Christ. That is the furthest thing from the truth, and that is a lie. that is so not the truth. And I know people probably were like, oh, I can't believe you said that. But listen, I feel like it's so necessary to be real, because when you try to pretend as if you have it all together, when you try to pretend as if you don't struggle with anything, you're making it seem like that's not going to be something that a non-believer has to go through when they do give their life to Christ. And I the past like 2 weeks have really been struggling in this certain area of my life. And it's so funny because I was listening to this pastor earlier today, and he talked about how, you got a whole bunch of people in your phone or a whole bunch of people that you're friends with, but you don't have a person to call. And it's different when you're the rock for other people, that you can't be a rock, that you don't have a person to be the rock for you, right? And so as I'm struggling, I literally had a moment like that where I looked through my phone and I tried to think of somebody that I could call that would relate to what it is that I'm going through. And I didn't have one person I could think of that I could call to tell, or, really just be real and be vulnerable in that moment with. And I mean, there's people who probably would allow me to be vulnerable, but I wouldn't feel comfortable being vulnerable with. And so it was just so crazy that the pastor had said that, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is a real struggle. This is something that is really hard when you really when you have people in your life that you can be vulnerable with, but you're not willing to be vulnerable. I feel like that's something that we need to speak on, because you have to know and be able to discern if those people are graced to be able to handle the things that you're going through in your life. And you don't want just a yes crew around you, because it's never going to make you stronger. It's just going to allow you to walk into the wrong things in life. It's going to allow you to do all of the wrong things in life. If you have people around you who are not adding to your life, who are trying to get you to do all of the wrong things that you know are wrong. But if you don't have a person who's going to be real with you and say, hey, you're better than that, then you're going to end up doing the wrong thing, because that nobody is stopping you. Nobody's willing to be real with you and to tell you, no, this ain't you. No, this doesn't look good on you. No, this isn't where God is taking you in life. This isn't your direction. When you don't have a person like that, it's easy to backslide. It's easy to fall into the ways of temptation. It's easy to have gluttony if you're the only healthy person. It's easy to make those decisions, those wrong decisions, when you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, when you don't have a good A team, or when you don't have a good set of people around you who are on the same journey or on a similar journey. Like if I'm trying to improve my life, I can't be around all the time. Let me say all the time, because some people, it may be friends, some people it may be family members, and their journey may be different than mine. What I mean is, sometimes when you're in life and you have different people that are a part of your journey, I keep looking away. I keep looking away because this is like something that I do when I'm getting my mind together, because I'm so over analytical. So when I'm talking and I'm saying things, sometimes I'll be like, okay, this, and this, and then I got to remember to stay on track. So when I look down, I'm like, okay, focus, So just so you know, it's not that I'm looking away because, I'm shy. I've been on this thing for like 2 years. I get it. I'm good. And I'm here because, this is where God intended for me to be. And I'm really trying to figure out if I need to be super real in this video or not, because the struggle is real. It's real. Like, when you are religious, people think, okay, you go to church every Sunday, you go to Bible study on Wednesdays, you always do the right thing. But you don't always do the right thing. We are all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. And I think it's important for you to understand that. Sometimes we look at people and we want them to be God. I could never be God. I don't ever want to be God. No one in this world could ever be God. But sometimes we put this God-like unrealistic standard on people as if they're never going to fall short. And for me, it's important for me, although I might not be perfect, although I might not make the right decisions, to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm being obedient. And when I'm struggling in obedience, when I'm struggling to do the right thing, I really try to lean on God. I really like I feel like my spirit is struggling the past 2 weeks, and it's like, this is like a horrible like reference or whatever, but it's kind of like when somebody passes and you can't understand why. You're like, but they're such a good person. But this, you got all of these things that you tell yourself or you ask yourself, and you just don't understand why God would allow a person to get sick. You don't understand why God would, take this person from your life. And I'm not going through that scenario, but something else. And I kind of feel like I would imagine it would be for someone in that season. For me, when someone passes away, I understand that. Like young, old, whatever. I understand. That makes perfect sense to me. But there's some things that happen in life, I just don't get it. I don't understand, you know. And I'm trying to be super real, but I also want to not be disrespectful to God or my religion or other people who may be religious, who may be struggling, and you feel like, okay, well, you're the strongest person I know. That's what a lot of people tell me. You're the strongest person I know. You got this, this, and this. Yes, I am a strong person, but I don't always want to be strong. Sometimes I want to be weak. Sometimes not weak like a weak-minded individual, but sometimes I want to be soft. Sometimes I need to be vulnerable. Sometimes I have to like have an outlet or whatever else. And okay, oh, it's getting heavy in this room. But yeah, and so it's just, sorry, try not to tear up because it looks weird on the camera when I do it. But anyways, yeah. So I just have been struggling, and it's just, I've been like getting rid of stuff, and sometimes I will fast from one thing and then I put something in my life that I know is not good for me, but I'm like, okay, I'm giving up this one thing. Let me go ahead and do this. And I know I can't be the only person that does that. So, I mean, you could judge me all you want. It's fine. I feel like me being transparent and vulnerable is going to help somebody else, because when they are not perfect, when they go to fast and they do something, they can take this moment and say, okay, I can't just replace this other thing because I'm fasting. Like, if I'm giving up something, I need to give up the things that I know or have a stronghold on me, because I'm doing this so I can release strongholds and increase my relationship with God, you know? So I think it's important for us to understand that when we are going through this journey, when we are struggling, when we are really having a moment and we don't know how to get back on track. And God will tell me sometimes, get rid of this person, place, or thing. And I'll get rid of it. Sometimes it'll be hard to release those things. And I'm like, God, why would you give it to me in the first place? I struggle in this area. And a pastor said earlier today, when I was listening to a sermon before I went to church, he said that sometimes God will give you something like that because he will test you, and the adversary will test you in areas that you're weak, because they want to make you stronger. Not because they want to dangle in front of you and make you feel badly, or make you feel like you got to get rid of all the things that you like, or make you feel like you can't have fun as a Christian, or make you feel like they're teasing you, or make you. And this is one thing that happened in the past, but I didn't really care about this, but I did care about the fact that God promised me something and I didn't get the thing that I had, that God had promised me yet. I still haven't received that thing in my life, but I know that God is faithful and that He will come through. But at the time when it happened, it made me feel a certain type of way. Like, so the guy a long time ago, when he got into a new relationship, I was thinking, okay, I kind of had prayed. This is the part that I probably didn't share in the last video, but I prayed. I was like, God, if this guy is not for me, please let him find somebody else, because I don't know if I can let go if he's not in a relationship. Because to me, nothing's more unattractive than a guy in a relationship, because he can't be all about me. I know that sounds selfish, but I got to keep it real. And so when when he got into a relationship, I was like, thank God. Like, it was hard, it wasn't easy, but I was like, thank you, Jesus. And so, but then on the other side, the flip side of it, I started to feel like, okay, God, you gave this man this person, and then you promised me a kingdom spouse, but I'm still single. And I like being single, but I felt a certain type of way in the moment. And that's some things that a lot of Christian people don't like to talk about. They say, oh yeah, wait patiently with a cheerful heart. And I do. I wait for the most part. 80% of the time I'm cheerful with a patient servant's heart. And then the other 20%, I have these moments where I'm just like, okay, God, I'm doing all the things that you want me to do, but what is it that I'm not doing right? Like, I start to feel like it's a personal thing against me. Like, okay, I'm trying to walk the straight and narrow. I'm trying not to be the person that I used to be. I'm really trying to be intentional with my life. I'm growing my relationship with you. Like, what is it that I'm doing wrong in this moment that's making you feel like am I not preparing enough in this? Like, what area am I weak in? What is it that I need to do so that you know that you could trust me with this thing? Or, what is it that, you just start to feel like it's like a personal thing. Like, you're doing something wrong is the reason why God is making you wait. But God is making you wait because He wants you to be patient. This video popped up on my feed as I was struggling. I go through the phone list. I don't have a person to reach out to that I feel like I could like cry, or, I feel like I could really be vulnerable like that with. And this video just pops up. I pray to God and this video just pops up like normal. Like, this is kind of how me and God's relationship is. Like, I'll say, God, I need you. I don't know what to do in this moment. I'm really struggling to release this thing. I know you want me to, but I can't. I can, but it's hard. And this video comes up, and there's this couple. They're talking about, well, they look like two individual people, but they're a couple. I found out later on in the video. But anyways, so they start to talk about, different things in your life, being faithful to God, in all of the ways. And they started talking about one particular area and how God will sometimes get you to release something. And they're like, what is the reason why you wouldn't want to be obedient to God? And they really said something that really came from my edges, my soul, everything. And it really convicted my spirit. They said, you're feeling frustrated or angry, or, you just having a hard time letting go of something. And I'm going to get the whole chapters wrong, but in Galatians, I think it's 5:20, chapter 22 to 23, or 23 to 24, it starts to talk about what love is. And for those of you that don't know, God is love. So when they say love is, that is what God is. And those are the characteristic traits that I strive to have in my life. Whenever I'm talking on these videos and I'm talking about the type of woman I want to be, I say, I am patient, I am kind, I'm loving, I'm not self-seeking or jealous or keeping records of wrongs. Those are the type of things that I aspire to be in my life. They put in a different perspective in this video, and they said, you have a problem waiting on God, or get frustrated with God, and you don't realize that you're not being the things that God is. You say you want to be Christ-like, but are you being patient with God? And I felt that in my soul, because sometimes we want things right now. We don't want to wait for anything. We don't understand. Oh my gosh. But we don't understand why God is having us wait for things that we want so badly, or why God, is having us in whatever season it is in our life. And we will really start to feel like it's a personal attack. We will really start to feel like it's something that we're doing. We will really start to feel a certain type of way about it. And for me, I feel like because I'm struggling in this period, God, to prove a point to me, removed his hand. And for those of you that are Christian, you understand what it feels like to have God's presence and what it feels like when God feels like he's not present in your life. And that's what it felt like. It felt like when I struggled letting go, that God's hand was removed. The hedge of protection that he has around me feels like it's being removed. It's like little by little, these things, I go to maybe church and I'm not feeling the spirit. Like usually I feel a spirit moving me. I start to feel the presence of the Lord. I start to feel like my heart is so light. I just feel joy unspeakable. I feel hopeful. I start to feel like the message, the words that the pastor's preaching, the words in the Bible are like jumping out at me. I start to feel this, everything that God is trying to tell me. I feel it. I could hear it. I don't know how to describe it, but I could hear it echo in my ears, like it's magnified. And the past 2 services, I haven't felt that. The last service, I felt nothing at all. I was reading and I read the words like a regular sentence. Like I could see it. I know the words are there, but nothing stood out. And it doesn't always have to be in scripture. It could be a person, it could be anything that tells you or helps you hear what it is that God's trying to say to you. I'm not saying that that's the only time you're going to hear from God, but usually every Sunday at church, I hear God. I hear his direction. I hear the lessons that he's trying to teach me. Something speaks to my spirit, my soul, and it just makes me feel like, okay, I'm going in the right direction. Okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I think that is just a confirmation that maybe I'm not moving in the right direction in my life. And my spirit just feels heavy. And it's making me feel like God is really convicting me and making me feel like, okay, am I doing things in my life because it's benefiting me? Which, people of the world would probably say, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm good. I got all the things that I want. But happiness and joy are not synonymous. They're not the same thing at all. When you really have the presence of God in your life, when you really feel that joy unspeakable, there's nothing that can compare to that feeling. Nothing. Like, there could be death in a family. There could be so many things in my life. I could lose a job. Everything could be happening around me, and the contentment and joy and peace that I feel is something only God can give to me. Without God, I'm just like the world. I feel I have happy moments, but nothing ever feels like it fills that space. Nothing will ever fill that space but God. And sometimes we forget that because we are so protected for so long that we forget that what not having God's presence feels like, you know? So in this moment and this season of my life, I'm really just trying to practice patience. Not just patience when there's a slow car driving in front of me and I used to get frustrated at it, and now I feel like, okay, I'm good. I mean, they want to drive slow, that's on them. Obviously, they're protecting me from some accident or something. Like, that's how I think of it in my mind, and it helps me have patience. Another thing is, sorry, my phone's going off. Another thing is, not only do I need to have patience when someone's driving down the road, but I also need to be patient when it comes to God having me in a season to prepare me for the next season. I can't just rush from one season to another. Obviously, I'm not ready, because if I was ready for a kingdom relationship, I would be able to release things easily. It shouldn't even be a question of or a struggle. It should really just be like, okay, okay, God, here. I know that what you have for me is better. And logically in my mind, I'm just thinking like, I really like having this person, place, or thing in my life. I really like these things. And God is like, that thing is not me. And, if I have a house and God's presence isn't in it, then it's no foundation. There's nothing this house will never be able to withstand anything without God in it. If I'm with a person and God is not at the center of the relationship, what's going to happen when I make the person mad and they can't go to God and pray on it so God can give them direction or speak to me so that we can reconcile whatever the situation is? What's going to happen when that thing that I have that could be used as an instrument to help someone else can't be used because God's not at the center of it? God can use people, places, and things to move in your life. And if God is not at the center of it, if God is not if God's grace isn't on it, you will not be protected. I don't know if I could live life like that. I don't know if I could go through life not feeling God's presence. Now that I know what it feels like to be full, completely full, like I feel like with God in my life, I don't need anything else because I'm full to capacity. I feel like I have everything that I need in my life. And I could just, like I said, I could feel God's hand removed. I could feel his protection lifted. I could feel in this season of my life, in the last couple days, week, whatever, I could literally feel the past 2 weeks, his hand has been removed, hedge of protection has been lifted. I feel like everything that God has for me is like in suspense. Like it feels like it could happen is contingent upon my actions. If I'm going to be faithful to God, I will receive these things that God has planned for me. If I'm disobedient, if I decide to do the ways of the world, if I decide to make a decision to keep or to do the things that are not pleasing to God, then I will just have a normal life. Not an abundantly, exceedingly above anything that I could ask, think, or imagine, but I would live a regular life. And I know some of you are probably thinking, of course, I want abundant life, until you get into a position where you have something that you've prayed for, that you've wanted in your life, but it's not God. And it's difficult. It really is so hard. I wish I could be stronger in this moment. I've been praying for strength. Like for those of you that are watching this video, please just pray that God's hand is, that I make the right decisions, not just for my will, but God's will. That I do the things that's pleasing to God and not just pleasing to myself. That any struggle that I'm facing, that it be removed in Jesus' name. And for any person out there that's struggling in the same way that I am, I pray that, and usually I don't do this, but okay, I pray that any struggle that you're facing right now, that becomes super clear to you, that you understand what it is that you have to do to be pleasing to God so that you can advance in your life. That anything that's holding you back, anything that's causing you sadness, anything that's heavy on your heart, anything that is making your spirit or your soul feel without rest, allow those things to be removed from your life. I know you want it so badly, but you can't have it the wrong way. If you receive the thing that you want and God isn't in it, it's going to be like a nightmare. And it might not seem like it right now, but I promise you eventually it will catch up. I just pray that God continues to guide you, that you continue to get clarity in your mind so that you can have the things that you prayed for, nothing more, nothing less. That not your will, but God's will be done. And that when you're struggling, this burden that's heavy on your shoulders, heavy in your heart is released so you can allow God to take control so that you don't have to ever worry about that thing ever again. So that you can have the things that God has for you and not just a regular normal life. We don't live normal around here. We live abundant, exceedingly abundantly above anything we could ever ask, think, or imagine. That's the type of life I want. I don't want a regular worldly life. That's not what I'm going for. And I hope that that's not what you go for as well. So that's it. I just wanted to be real. I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to let you know that God is always there for you. There's nothing that you're going through that God can't handle. He can handle everything because he created everything. If you're struggling, if you don't know what decision to make, if you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, God will help lift that load. There are things that we carry that we feel like we have to carry alone, but God is there with us always. He invites people into our life to help us. Use discernment and consider if this is God or if this is good. Use discernment to figure out if this is what you want or God's will. So go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm so grateful and thankful that you decided to be here today to listen to this message. And I really pray that your soul has peace and rest and that you have joy unspeakable in your life because you deserve it. You deserve everything that God has for you. You might not be perfect, but if God's willing to give it to you, accept it. Have an amazing, amazing Sunday. And I will see you guys